For months, I heard a voice begging for help from my bathroom drain. I finally went to find her. I don't know how much time I have. I'm typing this from my laptop, wedged into the corner of my living room, as far away from the bathroom as I can get. I've barricaded the door with a bookshelf. It's a stupid, pointless gesture, I know. It's not about keeping something out anymore. It's about keeping myself in. I'm afraid of what I'll do if I go back in there. It started about 3 months ago. I'd just come off a brutal project at work. Barricaded the door with a bookshelf. It's a stupid, pointless gesture, I know. It's not about keeping something out anymore. It's about keeping myself in. I'm afraid of what I'll do if I go back in there. It started about 3 months ago. I'd just come off a brutal project at work. 60-hour weeks, take out for dinner every night, sleeping in 4-hour chunks. I was a wreck. My apartment, which had always been my little sanctuary in the city, started to feel like a cage. It's an old building, the kind with character, which is just a real estate agent's way of saying it's falling apart in slow motion. The plumbing groans and sighs like an old man settling into bed. The walls are thin enough to hear my neighbors' arguments about their cat. I was used to the sounds. They were part of the building's personality. The first time I heard her, I was just washing my face before collapsing into bed. It was late, maybe 2 a.m. The only light was the dim bulb over the bathroom mirror, making my reflection look pale and hollowed out. I turned on the cold tap, the water rushing out with a percussive hiss that echoed in the small tiled room. And underneath that hiss, something else. A thin, reedy sound, like a badly tuned radio heard from a great distance. I turned the water off. Silence. Just the faint hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen. I chalked it up to exhaustion, auditory pareidolia. My brain was just making patterns out of the white noise of the pipes, the same way you see faces in clouds. I splashed water on my face, dried off, and went to bed. But it happened again the next morning. I was in the shower, the water drumming against the fiberglass tub. There it was again, clearer this time. A voice. A woman's voice, muffled and distorted by the water. I couldn't make out words, just a cadence of distress. A soft, desperate moaning. I killed the shower and stood there, dripping, listening. The sound vanished with the water. The silence that followed felt heavy, watchful. This became the new normal. Every time I ran the water in the bathroom, the sink, the shower, even flushing the toilet, her voice would be there. A faint, ghostly undercurrent to the sound of the plumbing. For weeks, I lived with it. I told myself it was a logical problem with a logical solution. I asked my next-door neighbor about it, the one with the cat. He just gave me a weird look and said he hadn't heard anything. I tried to trace the sound, pressing my ear against the wall, against the pipes under the sink. It seemed to come from everywhere at once, from the very heart of the building's circulatory system. My rationalization started to fray at the edges. The voice was becoming clearer. It had words, fragmented, broken pleas that rode the waves of running water. So cold. Can't get out. Please, someone, help me. I started timing my showers, making them as fast as possible. I washed my hands with a frantic burst of water, and then silence. The bathroom, my small private space, began to feel like hostile territory. I felt a knot of dread tighten in my stomach every time I had to push the door open. The air in there felt different, colder and heavier. One night, I came home late, bone-tired, and just wanting to sleep. I went to brush my teeth, turning the tap on just a trickle to wet my toothbrush. Her voice came through with chilling clarity, as if she were whispering right into the drain. "I'm on the roof," it gurgled, the sound distorted as if spoken through a mouthful of water. "In the tank, the water tank. Please, it's so dark in here." I dropped my toothbrush. It clattered against the porcelain sink. My heart felt like it was trying to beat its way out of my chest. The roof, the water tank, it was insane. A delusion brought on by stress and a lack of sleep. That had to be it. But the plea had been so specific. For the next week, I was a ghost in my own apartment. I bought bottled water. I used the gym at work to shower. I avoided my bathroom entirely, but the silence was somehow worse. I kept imagining I could hear it. A faint whisper just on the edge of my hearing, even when the water wasn't running. I felt like I was losing my mind. The thought of this woman, this voice, trapped and suffering, gnawed at me. Was I going crazy, or was I ignoring a person's desperate cry for help? What if she was real? The guilt was so immense. Last night was the breaking point. A storm rolled in, and the rain hammered against my windows. I had to use the toilet. As the cistern refilled with a long, drawn-out hiss, her voice came through louder than ever before, filled with a raw, gurgling panic that cut right through me. "The water is rising. Please, I can't breathe. He's going to. Oh God, please help me." It ended in a choked-off scream that was swallowed by the final gurgle of the toilet filling up. I stood there, frozen, my whole body trembling. That was it. I couldn't live with the uncertainty anymore. I couldn't live with the possibility that I was letting someone die 60 feet above my head while I tried to convince myself I was just tired. Crazy or not, I had to go up there. I had to look. The door to the roof access was at the end of the hall on the top floor. It was a heavy metal fire door that was always kept locked. I'd seen the building superintendent use his master key on it once or twice. I went back to my apartment and grabbed a toolkit, a credit card, and a tension wrench. I'm not a burglar, but you pick things up from watching too many movies. It took me 20 agonizing minutes of fumbling with the lock, my hands slick with sweat, every scrape of metal sounding like a gunshot in the silent hallway. Finally, with a dull thunk, the lock gave way. I pushed the door open and was hit by a blast of cold, damp air. The rain had eased to a drizzle. The roof was a flat, black expanse of tar, glistening under the sickly orange glow of the city's light pollution. And there, in the center of the roof, was the water tank. It was bigger than I'd imagined. A huge black metal cylinder, maybe 12 feet high and just as wide, standing on a squat framework of steel girders. It looked ancient and monolithic, like some forgotten altar. A thin, rusty metal ladder was bolted to its side. Every instinct was screaming at me to turn back, to lock the door and forget any of this ever happened. But the sound of that final, gurgling scream was still ringing in my ears. I walked toward the tank, my shoes making soft, sticky sounds on the wet tar. The air up here was thin and smelled of rain and exhaust fumes. As I got closer, I could hear a low, rhythmic sloshing from inside the tank, a gentle, tidal sound. I put my hand on the ladder. The metal was cold and slick with rain. I took a deep breath and started to climb. The rungs were thin and felt like they were bowing under my weight. The wind whipped at my jacket, trying to push me off. Halfway up, I stopped and pressed my ear against the cold, curved wall of the tank. I couldn't hear a voice, just that soft, rhythmic shifting of water inside. A large volume of it, moving slowly. I kept climbing until my head was level with the top. There was a large, circular lid, like an oversized manhole cover. It looked heavy. It had 2 rusted handles. I gripped them, the rust flaking off under my fingers, and pulled. It wouldn't budge. I braced my feet on the top rung of the ladder and pulled again, throwing all my weight into it. It moved with a deep, groaning screech of metal on metal. I slid it just enough to create a gap, maybe a foot wide. The smell hit me first. It wasn't the smell of decay or rot, nothing I could identify. It was an organic alien scent, like a damp cave mixed with ozone and something vaguely biological. It was thick and cloying, and made the back of my throat itch. I peered into the darkness. The water inside was black and still, reflecting the orange-tinged clouds above like a broken mirror. I couldn't see anything. My relief was so profound it almost made my knees buckle. It was just water. It was all in my head. I was just a sleep-deprived idiot, standing on a roof in the rain. I started to push the lid closed, and then the water moved. It wasn't a ripple from the wind. It's something immense shifted beneath the surface. The water bulged upwards, silently. I froze, my hand still on the lid. A shape broke the surface. It wasn't a person. It was a pale, chitinous plate, the color of old bone, and it was slick with black water. It was maybe the size of a dinner plate. And then another one surfaced next to it, and another, rising in a long, elegant, horrifying curve. A segment. I was looking at a single segment of something impossibly long. My mind just stopped. It refused to process what I was seeing. The segment was followed by more, emerging from the depths in a silent, undulating sequence. The body was as thick around as a telephone pole, and it seemed to go on forever, coiling in the vast, dark space of the tank. And then I saw the legs. On the side of each segment, just below the waterline, was a fringe of them. They were a mass of fine, hair-like appendages, hundreds of them per segment, all moving in a slow, hypnotic rhythm, like Celia. They stirred the water with an unnatural grace. I should have screamed. I should have fallen off the ladder. But I was paralyzed, locked in place by a primal reptilian kind of fear that bypasses all higher brain function. And then it turned. The long, pale curve of its body began to rotate slowly in the water. One of the segments, then another, rolled towards me. That's when I saw the eyes. There were no eyes on its head. I don't even know if it had a head. The eyes were on its body. Embedded in the center of each bony plate was a single, round, black eye. A simple, glossy, unblinking bead. And there were hundreds of them. 100 segments, 100 eyes, 1,000 segments, 1,000 eyes, all down the length of its submerged, coiling body. As the creature turned, the eyes rose above the water one by one, and one by one they fixed on me. My paralysis broke. I didn't scream. The sound was trapped in my throat, a choked, silent sob. I slammed the heavy lid back into place. The clang of metal on metal was deafening. I didn't wait to see if it was secure. I practically fell down the ladder, my hands and feet slipping on the wet rungs. I hit the tar of the roof hard, scraping my palms, but I didn't feel it. I scrambled to my feet and ran. I fumbled with the roof door, wrenched it open, and threw myself back into the hallway, slamming it shut behind me. I didn't bother to see if the lock caught. I sprinted down the flights of stairs, taking them two at a time, my breath coming in ragged, painful gasps. I burst into my apartment and slammed and locked the door, throwing the deadbolt and the chain. I stumbled through my living room and into the far corner, collapsing to the floor, my back against the wall. And I sat there, for hours, I think, just shaking, listening. The building is silent now. The pipes are no longer groaning. The water is still. The voice is gone from the bathroom. It's not gone completely, though. It's quieter now, and so much closer. It's in my head, a whisper. A soft, sibilant sound, like dry leaves skittering across pavement. It's not made of words, not anymore. It's made of images, feelings. It's showing me things. The cold, black water, the endless, patient waiting. The feeling of 100 bodies, of 1,000 legs moving in perfect, silent unison. It's showing me myself through its eyes. Hundreds of versions of me, peering over the edge of its world. A small, warm, frightened thing. It saw me. It knows I'm here. It knows I know. And the whispers in my head have a new tone, a promise. It's telling me about the water, how it connects everything in this building. Every tap, every drain, every toilet. It's telling me how patient it can be. I'm writing this because I don't know what else to do. Calling the cops sounds insane. Hello, officer? There's a giant centipede thing in my building's water tank, and it's whispering in my brain. They'd lock me up. Who do you call for something like this? I'm so thirsty. But I can't drink the water. I can't even go near the bathroom. I can feel it, waiting on the other side of the pipes. Every drain is an ear. Every faucet is a mouth. What do I do? Do I run? Where would I go? It saw me. It knows my face from 100 different angles. Does it stay in the tank? Or does it come looking for the one who got away? The whispers are getting stronger. They feel curious. Please, someone tell me what to do. I'm in my living room. I've pushed everything I own against the bathroom door. But I know it won't matter. Sooner or later, I'm going to have to face the pipes again. And I don't think it's going to be pleading for help this time.